Hey everybody, Douglas Blair Roberts here, Super for 100, the brown skin human, and of course, yeah, brown skin human coming at you with another video series review. This is the intro to my various Saturday morning prime time American-based cartoons, both children, preteen, teenage, and quote unquote adult. This intro will be for two parts. One, a short narration, and the second part, a full length long webcam where I explain more about the cartoon I'm quote unquote reviewing. So, with that being said, let's get this video started right now. This is also a rant. Some of these cartoons will be rants, so yeah, let's get started right now. Let me show you who I am and what I'm here for. Here for. Hey, trying to reach inside of me, trying to take my energy. Let me show you just what I'm made of. Simple curiosity, trying to signify to me. Let me show you just what I'm made of now. Hey everyone, it's time for the second part of my re-review seasons review of the 1995 American Street Fighter cartoon. This cartoon right here, like I've said in plenty of videos, plenty of reviews, plenty of favorite and best cartoons lists, this cartoon right here is one of my all-time
one of my all-time one of my all-time favorite and best cartoons, and it's still, yeah, one of my all-time favorite cartoons, and it's still awesome several years later. It's everything. This cartoon is everything an action an action an action adventure video game Saturday morning cartoon animated series should be. And like I've said in plenty of videos, I consider this cartoon right here to be the best, to be besides the Alpha movie and the comic books, to be the adaptation, to be the best and number one adaptation of Street Fighter outside outside of its comic books and video games. This is one of the best adaptations, and it's criminally underrated because this show gets a lot of flack from fans. It has a predominantly mixed to negative reception. It's one of those cartoons you either like it or you hate it. It has a negative reception for borrowing ideas for continuing and borrowing ideas from a live action film, and for being campy and goofy, which in my opinion is part of the fun, because under all the camp and the silly moments, there's actually strong writing, character development, and one thing I like in comparison to its live action movie counterpart, they borrowed ideas from the movies, but they also borrowed several ideas from the video game. And adaptation-wise, I thought this was much better than the Street Fighter II Victory anime television series, which aired around this same time. The Street Fighter II Victory as a TV show, the action animation, and the tone was much better than this cartoon. It wasn't as silly, as goofy as this cartoon was, but this cartoon, in my opinion, looks and captured the feel of Street Fighter more so than the Street Fighter II Victory animated series. This cartoon takes inspirations from the Street Fighter 2 Turbo video games, Alpha 1 and 2, Final Fight, and even elements of other Capcom properties like Saturday Night Slam Masters and many more appear. References and characters and sight gags of those shows appear here in this cartoon. This cartoon ran for 2 seasons from 1995 till I think April of 97. I caught the show briefly when I was a kid and rediscovered it in the 2000s and finally finished in the 2010s. When I saw the show as a kid, of course I was a kid, I thought it was one of the greatest things ever. When I grew up in the when I quote unquote grew up in the 2000s. See, when I grew up in the 2000s, then I rewatched when I discovered YouTube. When I discovered YouTube and rewatched the series, I watched the Whisk Watchers first, and I watched two of the worst and the pilot episodes, which were of poor quality in comparison to the rest of the series. So it was one of those shows where, like, oh yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite cartoons, but I always brought it off as cheese-tastic. Then I actually sat down, and when I sat down and rewatched the entire series, it was better than I remember. One of those mini cartoons that was good when I was a kid, and it's even better now that I'm an adult, now that I understand everything. So it's not only a cartoon that was awesome when I was a kid, it's still awesome as an adult. It's even better as an adult even better, and I gave it credit for. Besides, the cartoon's a cross between the Marvel and DC animated series, X-Men. I think even some of the X-Men animated series writers were in this cartoon. G.I. Joe, Street Fighter 2 Victory, the anime film, and Dragon Ball Z, followed by Japanese animation, is what this cartoon reminds me of. And when you take all those things together, in my opinion, you get Street Fighter. The first season, which we're talking about now, the first season, Street Fighter, the first season of Street Fighter was a good start, but was, like I said, like most people said, was mostly campy and borrowed from G.I. Joe. But still, there were lots of great episodes this season. I like every episode with the exception of episode 9. Episode 9 of season 1 and 19 of season 2, when I get to season 2, are the worst episodes in the series. I like every episode, with my favorite and best being the pilot, The Adventure Begins, where the Street Fighters have to stop Bison from spreading a virus. While this plot feels like something out of Scooby-Doo and what was that other show? Captain Planet, and the first season of the Super Friends, which had environmental threats and misguided villains than rather than generally evil villains like in the following Super Friends season. This was what this plot reminded me of, with a little bit of X-Men. Despite all that, one of the things I liked about it, not only was the final fight funny, but there were several funny moments. Including the scene where Ryu got run over by a pig, and Ryu, with a hilarious accent, said, "Oh, I just got slimed by Arnold the pig. I'm out of here." I'm out of here. And then another one, and then another funny moment when Bison did something to Guile. Guile raised his hands in the air and said, "Bison!" And you can see fire come up from behind him. And so there were several funny moments. And then episode 8. Then you had episode 8. Oh yes, one of the more memorable episodes. This is the most iconic episode of the series, because it features several popular memes that are still used today. The first one was a scene in this episode. Another thing I like about this episode, and that was also in episode 1 in this cartoon, was the International Street Fighting Tournament is actually seen in this cartoon. In Victory and the anime film, the International Street Fighting Tournament was nowhere to be seen. It was just a bunch of street fights and confrontations. Here they have that, but they have the International Street Fighters. When the Street Fighters are not saving the world, they're busting butt and competing in these tournaments, just like in the video game. The Street Fighters are competing in a tournament, and then Bison sends mutants to, first off, frame them by destroying the temple, and to send them to the tournament match to destroy the Street Fighters. And when the mutants are destroying the Street Fighters, Bison says, yes, and then he also does the iconic, "This is delicious." There's also an infamous scene where Balrog is typing with boxing gloves on. Also in this episode, the characters Aiden, Birdie, Saddam, Jessica, Cody's girlfriend, Cody and Guy, Cody and Guy have cameo appearances before their actual appearances, their actual featured episodes in season 2, in quote unquote season 2. Another thing I liked about this episode, all of the references, all of the quote unquote references. So yeah. Then you got episode 13, Strange Befellows, which is what you're listening to in the background. I have the video, I have the volume low so you can hear me too. In previous videos like this, I've accidentally kept the video loud where you can't hear me. So yeah, episode 13 features something never heard of. Both Shadaloo and quote unquote features attacks from a mysterious party. Each party thinks it's the other. Shadaloo thinks it's Gal and his forces, and Gal thinks it's Bison and his forces. But it isn't. It's neither of them. Instead, it's the Street Fighters. It's the quote unquote Street Fighters. It's the quote unquote Street Fighter. Instead, it's the Enzazuken Master, Akuma. He makes his debut here, and while being a small departure from the video games in that he's seen as a villain, despite the more. He's definitely evil in the games, but the more anti-hero role, because he has the honor code. He doesn't want to fight an injured opponent. He doesn't want to fight an injured he's evil because he kills people, and he killed his own brother, but he doesn't kill people he deems weak. He doesn't like to fight people who are injured or kill people weaker than him unless they're being dishonest. And cowardly, like Bison, of course, yeah, here they have him similar to Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat, with him consuming energy key. But despite that, it's still true to Akuma in several ways. He's neutral. He's not affiliated with Shadow or the Street Fighters. He's on his own. He walks around. He still portrays that dark figure lurking in the shadows, looking for a powerful Street Fighter to fight and that can contend with his power. And here he was so powerful, it took Guile and Bison teaming up, something unheard of. Fierce rivals, fierce enemies, Guile and Bison, forced to put their differences aside for the first time in any media to team up and stop this great Akuma. It was awesome, man. It was awesome. And this episode also featured the best animation. This featured Japanese Gonzo style of animation than the cheesy 70 morning cartoon animation that episodes 1 through 12 had.
We get to spend our little field trip dodging volcanoes.
So yeah, this ends season 1. Before I close out season 1 and go into season 2, let's talk about the worst episode. The worst episode, I think it was Eye of the Beholder. Episode, from a writing standpoint, was okay, but it was so boring because it didn't feature much of the other Street Fighters. It was mostly Vega and Blanca, and this was the issue with the next one, with the episode 19 of season 2, Face of Evil. But I'll wait till yeah. So yeah, I like all the episodes except 9. These were the greatest episodes. I also like the other episodes focusing on characters like Fei Long, DJ, T-Hawk, E Honda, Dalsine, and those characters. Pretty much Guile, Chun-Li, Ryu, Ken, and Cammy, and Escher. Pretty much these characters pretty much serve as pretty much main characters. But yeah, so now wait till we get to the awesome season 2. Season 1 was an okay, mediocre start. It was an awesome season, but season 2 is far better and was more closer to the comic books. And this right here, like I said, the negatives was it was campy, mostly campy, and reused G.I. Joe reused G.I. Joe and X-Men plots. Those are really bad, but a great season to start showing them. The intro features a remix of the Street Fighter 2 theme, and the characters look like they're Street Fighter 2, and early Turbo counterparts. With elements of Alpha 1 and 2. So now it's time for part 2. Get ready. Alright, people. Now it's time for my review of the Street Fighter. It's time for my review of Season 2 of the Street Fighter animated series, American cartoon that aired from 1995 to 1997. This is the more superior Season 2 of the show. Yeah, this is the more superior Season 2. This season features more elements, more material, and more stuff closer to that of the video games. Various storylines, segments, and references from the video games are seen here in this season. This season also went through a huge animation overhaul. Characters look even closer to their Street Fighter 2 and Alpha counterparts. Ken looks like his Street Fighter 2 victory with his new badass orange hair in this quote unquote season. Characters who had cameos in Season 1 are more prominent in this season, as was Ken and Ryu. One of the main criticisms towards this series was, once again, after the American Street Fighter live-action film with Jean-Claude Van Damme, so Ryu and Ken are relegated to, once again, supporting characters, but they're more prominent here in Season 2 than they were in Season 1. So that was one small improvement. Ken, in my opinion, in this version, which I'm going to get to later, was treated better here in the cartoon than he was in the video game. Before I continue, I forgot to mention in Season 1, got a lot of talented voice actors. First off, it's the Ocean Dub VAs, Ocean Dub voice actors, so you know it's going to be an awesome product. I love the Ocean Dub cast, because no matter what they're voicing, no matter what it is, they will act like it is Shakespeare. They will give the best they can. They will overact and act like it's Shakespeare, no matter how bad or how good or how cheesy the material is, and put on a good performance and give you a show. You got Michael Donovan as Guile, who was also Billy Lee in the Double Dragon cartoon. You got legendary Scott McNeil, who was Billy Lee in the Double Dragon cartoon. He's Kid Masters here. Then you got then you got the voice acting cast of many other familiar faces. These are the only two I recognize at the moment, name-wise. But yeah. So and then you got Michael Dobson, who was most famously known as Nappa in the Ocean Double Dragon Ball Z as Kid Masters.
It appears you've done the experiment.
I mean, as Zangief, not Kid Masters, Zangief. So, yeah.
They were, as our sensei did with us. But why have you returned now after all this time?
So,
I have finally perfected
Yeah,
ultimate.
I like all the episodes, excluding 19. My favorite and best episodes. I like all the episodes. My favorite and best episodes include episode, episode 17, which you're watching in the background now, The World's Greatest Warrior, which features the return of Akuma. Only this time, instead of Guile and Bison, he severely, in a small departure from the game, he severely injures his teacher, Master Goken. He doesn't brutally murder him in this cartoon like he did in the video games. And the thing I like about this cartoon, not only is Goku here, this cartoon is centered upon Ryu and Ken, who both in separate matches have two awesome fights with Akuma. The fights with Akuma, both of the fights with Akuma and Guile, and Bison's fight with Akuma in season 1, Ryu and Ken's fight with Akuma in season 2 are two of the best fights. Are two of the quote-unquote best fights, two of the best fights and most exciting fights in this entire series, and in my opinion, underrated, some of the best in Saturday morning cartoons.
Akuma, brother of your
Um,
sensei, and within hours, undisputed champion of the world.
In the beginning, Akuma beats up and severely incapacitates his brother Goken, and you see Ryu and Ken training, and Goken lands right in front of them. I also like this episode because this episode, it gives them some more depth and story on both, not only the Ken, but the Ryu character, and why changes that they made to the character. One of the main things I didn't like about this cartoon, a lot of people, was how it's funny, but how weak and pussy they made Ryu in this cartoon. That's because in a huge departure from the game. This Ryu was not meant to be a fighter. He was a con man running his hustle in the streets, and trained under and didn't know he was a fighter. Didn't know he was a common, I think, an artist. Then trained under Master Goken and learned the ways of the power of nothingness and Zazuken. That power, but that explains why he's so weak and wimpy in this Street Fighter universe. And Ken, because of his arrogance and cockiness, that actually makes him the counterpart to Akuma. But Goken saw something in Ken, and Ken knew what it had the power to master is Zazuken. Another huge departure from the video game. The spot Ken is in this cartoon is the spot Ryu's supposed to be in. Ryu fought Akuma first and put up a good fight, but got severely injured with a brutal stiff punch to the arm, forcing Ken to take over. And Ken eventually mastered the power of nothingness and overpowered Akuma. That's not canon, but that's awesome. That's awesome. In the cartoon, only Ryu, and that's with the evil Ryu power. That's with the dark Hano power. Only Ryu can stand up to Akuma. Ryu can stand up to Akuma. Cody is the only character with no enhancements who can fight Akuma for a little bit with no power enhancements. Ken would have to become violent. Ken become violent Ken to stand up to Akuma. But it was awesome. It was awesome, especially Ken's awesome memorable speech against Akuma. Memorable speech Akuma.
Everything Goken taught us was to prepare us for
Then, what else is in this cartoon? Street Fighter, the cartoon. What else is in this cartoon?
Gon, he could be dead, and Akuma could be invincible. There. Goku's as comfortable as he can be. What else can we do for you, Sensei? Leave me. I'm trained. Move on. My brother. Save the world from evil. Save him from this evil.
What else?
Street fighting and babe. You would have been here in time to help. Usually I tell you things like that, Ken. But what's done is done. I wouldn't have known that. No! It's my fault! Sensei
So,
never taken me on purposely. I was just a guy on the
yeah, another great Akuma themed episode. Then, the next episode, episode 18. So I think it's you want to be in pictures. This is Fei Long's big episode. Fei Long appears sporadically throughout season 1, but he was more prominent here in season 2, and this was his starring episode, an episode featuring him and his movies with Ken and Ryu as guest stars. Guile, the main character, missed a lot of episodes this season despite being the main character. Yeah, he wasn't involved in either of the Ryu and Ken story arc episodes. He wasn't involved in any of them. What he was, so you want to be in pictures. So you want to be quote unquote in pictures. Yeah, Guile, of course, Fei Long, don't remember the plot. But he had Ken and Ryu on set, and Ken was guest starring in this film. Ken started getting drunk and lazy with his training and acting, and disappointing Fei Long, leading to one of the funniest moments of the series where Fei Long says, "You are weak, you've forgotten your training, completely disgraced yourselves," and you will never fail for that attack, and Ken responds with the iconic, yeah, and you're a loser. And then, what else?
Techniques were developed for a world of opposites, Ken. Yin and yang, good and evil, day and night, Ken.
Then you had Street Fighter, the animated series. Yeah. Then you had what was interesting about this episode was we went more in depth with the Ken character and why they made him a con man. See, one of the main things that didn't make sense in the live action film and in the cartoon, pretty much all of the American versions of Street Fighter was, why did they make Ken and Ryu con men? Well, for Ken, they justified it here is that, because especially Ken, who's supposed to be rich in the game, he is rich, but his dad cut him off the fortune. So Ken did his con games to make money on his own, to make money on his own. So that's why Ken is a con man in this universe, and then Ken, I think, at the end, learned a valuable lesson about money, and finally reconciled with his father. So another great episode. Like I said, despite the cheesiness in camp, there was strong writing and character depth throughout this cartoon. Something I didn't pick up when I rediscovered the show on YouTube. It wasn't until I rewatched both seasons where I got to better appreciate the cartoon. That's why on this channel, a lot of people like I always make sure you give it the respect it deserves. There are multiple reviews on my channels, on both my Super Vader 400 and Doug 798 channel, praising this awesome cartoon. So, then you have episode 21, The Flame and the Rose. This is the Street Fighter Alpha character, Rose, who had a cameo during the Medium is the Message, season 1, episode 8. Here, she has her starring episode where she has an awesome fight with Bison, with Ken and Blanca at her side fighting Zangief and Cammy. Throughout the episode, she's trying to find, her cards and her crystal ball tells her to find a mysterious evil. She tries to find the evil based on her cards. She tries to find the evil based on her cards because she thinks Ken is evil because he practices Anzozuken, but Ken reassures her that art produced the violent character Akuma. But Ken and Ryu aren't evil. Then you got Blanca, who is a monster, but Blanca isn't it either. The person she was looking for was Bison, whose quest for mad power makes him a monster, whose power makes him a mad monster. Then his power, the psycho power, which you have to be the most evil to master that. The most evil to master that makes him the greatest evil. Makes him the greatest evil, and that's Street Fighter. That's yeah. So another awesome episode, an episode featuring Rose. Yeah. Then you got episode 24. You got episode 24, which isn't that good, but it's one of my favorites because it features the Ryu and Sagat rivalries. I like the change the live action version did. They switched the rivalries instead of Ken and Vega and Ryu and Sagat. They paired Ken up with Sagat and they paired Ryu up with Vega. I like that change, but I prefer the original. Switch it back to what it originally was. Ryu and Sagat fighting, and Ryu giving Sagat his iconic scar is here. And Sakura is here too. Is here too. This episode is hilariously bad because while the rivalry is featured here, and the Ryu and Sagat is hilariously bad in game compared to the video games, the animes, and every other adaptation that features Ryu's Shinlong Dragon Punch giving Ken spinning uppercut punch giving Sagat his iconic scar. When Sagat gets the scar, Sagat hilariously and comically says it, "Oh, you scarred me for life." It was hilarious, and Sagat had a lot of funny moments here. This was one of them in season 1. I forgot to mention he had the iconic when he told the kid, "So you like cornflakes?" And the kid hilariously responds, "I thought you were cool, Sagat." And you got what else? Oh yeah, episode. So yeah, I like how this featured the Ryu and Sagat rivalry. This episode was that good. Then you got episode 25, Final Fight, probably in my opinion the greatest episode of the series. Guy, Cody, Jessica, Hager, Saddam, Rolling Tool, and I think it's the Belger, the main bad guy, and the henchman, Matt Yergang. They're all featured here in this episode, and it's like they took the entire Final Fight cast out of the video games and inserted them into the cartoon. Everyone looks like their counterpart. Actually, some characters look better. Some characters, like Cody, in my opinion, look better than their video game counterpart. Video game counterpart. So and it's spot on with the game, except for Ryu and Ken are introducing this plot, and they're putting Guy in Cody's role of rescuing Jessica. The whole plot is Matt Gear knows Guy and Cody, so Matt Hager, the president, the mayor of what you call, he's here to set, so he doesn't do any fighting, but he's here. He gets Ryu and Ken.
Even if you can't, I can relate to my friend Ryu. I can relate to
Ryu and Ken. Fight Hager. Ryu and Ken get dressed up like the Warriors, the 1979 Warriors gang film, and go infiltrate the Matt Gear gang. Battle with Rolling Tool and the Rolling Toes, Saddam, and the rest of the Mad Gear gang, the rest of the Mad Gear gang. Yeah, they're supposed to infiltrate as members of the Mad Gear gang, but then use this opportunity to rescue Jessica. The plan is up, but Cody comes in, ruins the plan. Cody comes in, ruins the plan, and in a moment mirroring the game, Cody kicks Belger out the window, except Belger's cloth from his belt hooks a pole, preventing him from falling to his death like he did in the game. But the guy in the wheelchair, Cody kicks him out of the wheelchair, and he falls. He falls to his death. He falls to his death. But actually, in the video game, he falls to his death. Here, he falls, which kind of gets arrested. They would have him brutally murdered in this PG kids cartoon. But other than that, spot on with the game, and hilarious, especially Rolling Toe with his Brooklyn accent. And Ken constantly teasing Cody. They have a rivalry. Cody and Ken have a rivalry here. And then Michael Dobson, he voices Cody in this cartoon. The guy I said Nappa, he voices Cody in Yoshi Dub Nappa. He voices Cody in this cartoon, and he says and he talks like a country bumpkin here. Where's my Jessica? I told you, don't touch my Jessica. Yeah. Cody, for the most part, is his character. He's a country bumpkin, and he's a hothead. In comparison to the aloof, in comparison to the super serious aloof, non-caring, almost emo-like personality he has in the video games. And I thought this season finale, this was your first of your season finales. I thought this season finale was better than the next season finale. The next season finale was the grand finale. I think it's called Second to None. No, it's not Second to None. I keep forgetting what it's called. The final episode, but it's the final episode which features Bison going mad. Throughout this series, Bison receives orders from a special deity. Throughout the series, the deity told him to rule the world. Now the deity told him to destroy the world. Bison goes crazy, and since the people won't accept Bison as their ruler, he goes crazy and destroys he goes crazy and insane and tries to destroy everything, forcing Sagat and his forces to form a partnership with Guile, Chun-Li, Chun-Li, Cammy, who is more prominent in this series. Her story in the first season, she was just a watered down British female version of Guile. Here, she's more like the complex, tragic character, assassin trying to searching for redemption, where she's Bison's doll, where she's Bison's doll, and the whole Bison brainwashing Cammy storyline from the game is featured more predominantly here in season 2 than it was in season 1. And she goes on her own mission to recover her past. And she has the iconic moment where she says, everything is lies, where she runs down the hallway. And she has an awesome fight with Bison and her Delta Red members from her Delta Red team who make cameos in the game and assist in fight attacks, assist Cammy during gameplay. They're featured predominantly throughout this cartoon, also throughout this season also. And then this whole thing leads to a climatic showdown between Guile, Sagat, Chun-Li, Cammy, Cammy, yeah, Cammy, 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 the Delta Red team in all out battle against Bison, which ends with 8 Street Fighter performing their finishers, followed by, last but not least, Sagat and Guy working together at Tigers and Sonic Booms to knock Bison into his computer, which drags him to the computer and eats him, appearing to kill him, ending the war and ending the series on a happy note. But Cammy, because of shame of her past, cannot rejoin the Street Fighter team, and the series unfortunately ends here. And also, maybe one thing I like about this cartoon, unlike Double Dragon and Mortal Kombat, this one, while not, in my opinion, not being as good as those two video game cartoons, this one did something those two cartoons did. This one had a legitimate ending and a legitimate conclusion. For the most part, everything was resolved in this series. In this quote-unquote series. Only problem I have with this series, only problem I've had is right when it was getting good. This was around the time with Street Fighter. It ended right around the time with Street Fighter Alpha 3, widely considered one of the best games ever, and the Third Strike were being made and released. The Third Strike series. I would have loved to have seen Cody going to jail. Cody going to jail. The Dan Hibiki character, who I'm mad was never in this cartoon. He is the perfect representation of this cartoon. Everyone except for Guile, Chun-Li. Everyone except for Guile, Chun-Li. Yeah, except for Guile, Chun-Li, Cammy and Guy and Hager are pretty much Dan Hibiki in this cartoon. Are pretty much Dan. It would have been cool to see Dan Hibiki in this cartoon. And of course, I mentioned the Cody going to jail storyline from Alpha 3. Then the whole Illuminati, Urian Gill, Yun Yang Nutley, and the new main protagonist, Alex, from Street Fighter Third Strike, not to mention, I forgot Oro. Yeah, Urian and Gill, and Urian, the boss characters, Urian and Gill, if I didn't say them already, the boss characters, Urian and Gill would love to have seen Street Fighter 3 adapted. I think this cartoon would have been canceled, would have ended by the time Street Fighter 4, which came out in 2008, would have came out. But, yeah, then I would have liked them to remake the Street Fighter cartoon something closer to the game, and this time go in chronological order, including Street Fighter 4. So it sucks that this cartoon, it had a great run, but it sucks it ended right when the Street Fighter franchise was getting real good with the Alpha 3 and Third Strike, not to mention your crossover video games, Capcom vs. Marvel, then the very popular Capcom vs. SNK. But an awesome season, vast improvement over season 1, a vast improvement over season 1, and only episode I hate was the Face of Evil, I think it's Face of Fury, Face of Evil, something like that. Anyway, the episode was terrible. It was another Blanca Vega themed episode. Plot and writing was okay, but who wants to see an episode centered around Blanca and Vega without any of the other Street Fighters? And because of this, I always wrote the Street Fighter off as a cheese-tastic cartoon from the 90s, because I always watched the worst episodes. That was these two episodes and season 1, episode 1, The Adventure Begins. Then rewatch the other ones. Then I rewatched the other ones. Think this cartoon is way better than I gave it credit for. It was awesome when I was a kid. It's even more awesome as an adult. Now I understand everything. So yeah, this was my review of the Street Fighter 1995-97 cartoon. The links to my previous versions, for those of you who want to see those, my previous versions, they will be in the description box below. If you want to hear the rest of the music, turn the video off right now.
Don't see how we can line up funding by tomorrow. If we don't, they start tearing down the